All right, welcome to this explainer. We're about to unpack one of the most wonderfully petty, wildly entertaining, and honestly deeply human stories in all of recorded history. We're looking at a 2,700-year-old Babylonian text known as the Poor Man of Nippur. And look, if you thought that elaborate, over-the-top revenge plots were some kind of modern Hollywood invention, oh, absolutely not. Buckle up, because this ancient poem proves that people thousands of years ago could hold a grudge just as spectacularly, if not more so, than we do today.
Okay, let's dive into this, because there's a huge, central, philosophical question driving our entire story here. What does one actually deserve? Keep that echoing in the back of your mind as we go. Should a nobleman automatically get treated better than a poor man? And, if so, should the enforcers of that massive inequality face the music? This whole thing, it isn't just a funny prank. It's a hardcore debate about justice and fairness, just wrapped up in a hilariously vindictive package.
Right, so to really grasp the conflict here, we need to know the rules of the game. In ancient Mesopotamia, hospitality wasn't just a nice thing to do, it was an absolute, unbreakable, sacred obligation. You were literally required to treat a guest well and provide for them, completely regardless of their social station in life. Basically, if someone showed up at your door bearing a gift, you were locked into a high-stakes social contract. You had to reciprocate with an even better gift and a feast. Period. And this obligation, that's the linchpin that sets the stage for a spectacular societal clash.
So enter our protagonist, or well, actually, maybe our anti-hero is a better word for it, Gilmil Nuorta. He's a young citizen of the ancient city of Nippur, and he is just in a totally desperate, miserable state. The ancient text actually tells us, and I quote, "Every day, in the absence of a meal, he slept hungrily. He was clothed in garments without a change. The guy has 0 silver, 0 gold, and his stomach is absolutely burning for just basic bread and beer. Essentially, we are dealing with a man who has absolutely nothing left to lose."
Driven by this intense hunger, Gimel hatches a brilliant scheme. He takes his one and only possession, those unwashed everyday clothes, off his back, and trades them for a 3-year-old goat. But there's a massive catch. He still can't afford the beer required to host his own neighbors, and throwing a meat-only feast back then was considered a huge cultural faux pas, like a total insult. So what does he do? He pivots. He takes that goat straight to the mayor's house. He knows those ironclad rules of hospitality mean the mayor is basically trapped into returning the favor with a lavish, heavily catered meal.
But the mayor is no fool. He sees right through this poor man's desperate, meager little offering. And instead of honoring that sacred social contract we talked about, he delivers what is essentially a literal slap in the face. He tells his staff to give Gimel Ninurta a bare bone and a piece of sinew. He serves him beer that's been watered down to 1/3 of its normal strength. And then, the ultimate insult to injury, he has the guy forcibly expelled from the city gate.
So, the crucial point is how Gimel Ninurta reacts. He doesn't just slink away. On his way out, he stops dead at the gatekeeper and drops this chilling, perfectly calculated promise. "Because of the one burden which you imposed on me, for that one I will requite you 3 times. The mayor, he literally laughs all day at this threat. Like, what is this poor guy gonna do? But Gimel Ninurta just locked in the narrative rule of 3, and let me tell you, he is deadly serious.
And what follows is a brilliantly escalating, wildly absurd, 3-part heist plot just to get even. Think, Step 1, the royal courier. Step 2, the doctor. And Step 3, the goat guy. Gimel Ninurta isn't just going to walk back in there and try to throw a punch. No way. He is going to systematically dismantle this mayor's pride, his wealth, and his physical well-being with absolute theatrical precision.
Act 1 is an absolute masterclass. Gimel Ninurta goes out and actually rents a royal chariot from the king for a whole mina of red gold. He completely disguises himself as this high-ranking noble courier dressed in fine clothes, and his prop? A locked box where he secretly hides 2 live birds, pretending it's packed with temple gold. When he rolls up at dusk, the gullible mayor is so starstruck by this nobleman that he throws a massive, lavish feast, completely oblivious to the trap that's just been set.
Then, the trap springs. Once the mayor's fast asleep, Gimel Ninurta creeps over, pops the box open, and just lets the birds fly away into the night. So the next morning, the mayor wakes up and absolutely panics at the empty box. Gimel Ninurta plays it up perfectly. Feigning this utter, unhinged outrage over his stolen gold, he unleashes a savage beating on the terrified mayor. To top it off, he extorts 2 minas of red gold plus brand new clothes just to keep his mouth shut about the whole thing. He strolls out of there a significantly richer man, wearing incredibly fine new clothes. But he hasn't forgotten the vow. On his way out, he tracks down that exact same gatekeeper and leaves this terrifying calling card. I have requited you 1, 2, remain. You have to admire it. The guy is a man of his word, just ruthlessly dedicated to principle.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because now Gimel-Ninurta actually weaponizes the mayor's fresh injuries right back against him. For Act 2, he disguises himself as a physician from Isin. He even shaves the left side of his head, which, fun fact, was the standard medical ID badge of the era. He shows up and promises he can cure the mayor's bruises. The catch? The treatment only works in absolute pitch-black darkness. As soon as they are sealed alone in this dark room, Gimel-Ninurta literally pegs the mayor to the solid ground and beats him mercilessly a second time.
Leaving the mayor battered, bruised, and staked to the floor in a pitch-black room where his staff can't hear a thing, Gimel-Ninurta just casually walks right out the front door. At the gate, he delivers that repeating promise to the guard, I have requited you a second time. 1 remains. Seriously, the psychological terror for the mayor at this point must have been absolutely overwhelming.
Now, for Act 3, the mayor is obviously on extremely high alert. So Gimel-Ninurta has to get a bit creative. He sets up a decoy. He hires this youth to run right up to the gate screaming, I am the one with the goat. The mayor, furious and completely terrified, sends his entire protective staff chasing this kid off into the open countryside, leaving the house completely empty and unguarded.
And that's the exact moment Gimel-Ninurta springs the final trap. He'd been hiding under a nearby bridge the whole time. Once the staff is completely out of sight, he emerges, seizes the totally isolated mayor, and delivers the third and final thrashing. Standing over his broken enemy, he recites the completed vow. Because of the one burden which you imposed upon me, I have requited you 3 times. And then he just walks away into the countryside, leaving the mayor to crawl back into his own city.
Okay, it's a highly entertaining, almost movie-like story, right? But it really pulls the rug out from under us when we stop to think about it. Who is the real victim here? As satisfying as that revenge feels in the moment, we have to reevaluate. Was Gimel-Ninurta really this righteous hero balancing the cosmic scales of justice? Or was he actually just a highly manipulative con man and a violent villain?
And this brilliantly illustrates the story's inherent ethical gray areas. Look at Gimel-Ninurta's justification. He believes he's avenging a broken social and divine contract. Since the absent gods didn't strike the mayor down for his terrible hospitality, well, somebody had to do it. But then look at the mayor's side. Gimel-Ninurta literally bought a cheap goat specifically to exploit the system for a massive free feast. From that angle, the mayor was just rightfully punishing a grifter trying to game the rules.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the hidden clue right in our protagonist's name. Gimel-Ninurta literally translates to Revenge of Ninurta, and Ninurta just so happened to be the Mesopotamian god of war, retribution, and a major patron deity of Nippur itself. So this strongly suggests that ancient audiences might have actually seen him as an avatar of divine justice, a guy taking holy duty into his own mortal hands when earthly authorities failed. And really, the journey of this text is just as fascinating as the plot. We're talking about a story with Sumerian oral origins going all the way back to around 1500 BCE. The version we mostly rely on is a Babylonian tablet copied at Sultan Tepe in 701 BCE. It basically sat lost in the dirt until a nearly complete poem was rediscovered in Turkey in 1952. And then, amazingly, in 2018, Cambridge University produced a short film directed by Dr. Martin Worthington, the world's very first film spoken entirely in ancient Babylonian. Which brings us to our final provocative thought. The Poor Man of Nippur is so much more than an ancient comedy sketch. It is a mirror reflecting our own complex views on fairness. Ask yourself, if the established rules of society totally fail to give you what you deserve, are you ever justified in taking it yourself? Gimel-Ninurta sure thought so. It really leaves you wondering what you'd do if you were handed a bare bone and diluted beer. Thank you for joining this explainer, and remember to always keep questioning the rules of the game.